Hi, in today's video, we shall be going through body language for coaches, where you will discover how to interpret body language correctly while you are coaching your employees or staff. Now, have you ever been in a situation where you are in a discussion or while you're coaching your employee and they exhibit some sort of a gesture which you are not too sure? What exactly are they revealing through that gesture? Well, in today's video, I shall be going through 14 of the essential body language gestures which you should master and keep an eye out for in order to understand what your staff are telling you without really telling you. And that reminds me of what Peter Drucker said. The most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. So what he's trying to say is you got to learn how to listen, not just with your ear, but you got to learn how to listen with your eye as well. And stick around till the end, where I shall reveal to you the 3 rules that you need to understand to make sure that you don't misinterpret body language. So let's go through the fundamentals. Body language exists in all cultures. And the 14 that I'm going to go through with you today, and there are, of course, far more than 14, but the 14 that I'm going to go through with you are the most important in a workplace setting and specifically related to coaching. Number 1, it transcends all cultures. All the 14 gestures that I'll be showing you are exhibited in all cultures and therefore across all geographies, across all languages as well. And this is based on evidence, on research. Secondly, as Peter Drucker said, what is not said, that means what is exhibited through your employee's body language, actually reveals what's going on inside their head without them telling you. And it is at a subconscious or unconscious level. So it is difficult for them to control them as much as they may want to. As much as they may have watched this video, it is going to be tough for them to actually control their body language gestures. I would like to remind you that you can utilize or keep an eye on your employees or coachees' body language gestures while you're doing the coaching via Zoom or any other virtual platform or even face-to-face. So basically what this means is that we will be looking at these 14 gestures which are above the waist up or above the desktop level. The very first body language gesture that I want to go through with you is something that I do not see that often anymore while I'm coaching. And even when I conduct coaching classes and selling skills classes where I teach body language, yes, salespeople do need to understand the body language that their prospects and their clients are exhibiting to understand what's going on inside there and in their emotions as well. And that is biting nails. I've not seen that for a long, long time. And when you do see your employee doing that, it only means that they are nervous and that they are insecure. So you could see them doing that even before the coaching session starts. And therefore, if you do see that, then that would mean that you will have to make them at ease before the session starts. Now, if you do see them do that, biting their nails, when you ask a question, let them answer. And then see if that answer makes sense, because the mere fact that they are biting their nails before they give their answer indicates that they are nervous of how you would react to the answer they are giving. So keep an eye on that. The second body language gesture is drumming their fingers on the table, on a book, or any other platform. And when you see them do that, either after you have asked a question or before the session starts, note that that means drumming the fingers means that they are restless or they are impatient. So if you do see that, then again, try to make them feel at ease so that they are less impatient and that they are not restless. So calm them down before your session starts if they are doing this during or before the session starts. So if you find that as the coaching session is going on and they are drumming their fingers, then you need to stop and ask them what is making them restless or impatient. Get that over with before you go further with your coaching session. Now, the third body language gesture is what you have probably seen me right from the beginning of this video, where I am steepling my fingers like this. Now, that is an indication of influence as well as authority. And you're probably seeing this, or you're probably seeing me exhibiting this because I'm pretty confident in what I'm going to be delivering to you through this video. So, when your coachee gives an answer and they steeple their fingers, know for sure that they are pretty confident in the answer that they're giving you. So you can more or less rest assured that they are being truthful in their answer. Now we'll come back to another gesture which also indicates truthfulness. And that leads me to the next gesture, which is open palm, which is an indication that they are telling the truth. I hope you can see my palms open here. So when they answer you with an open palm, it could be on the table. It could also be as you're standing up and they display their palms open. It's an indication that their answer is truthful. They are not keeping any secrets when they're answering you. Now, the next gesture is rubbing their palms together. And that indicates that they are anticipating good news. They normally wouldn't anticipate bad news by rubbing their palms. And it could also mean that they are impatient, that they can't wait for you to reveal the good news. They are expecting good news. So, and when you do see that, then it's a moment for you to be jovial, to be humorous about it if you wish as well. And therefore, you can ask questions like, I see that you can't wait for me to deliver some good news. What are you expecting? So have some fun with this, and that's a good way to lower down the stress levels, especially during a coaching session or even some other negotiation sessions that you may be having. Now, during a coaching session, one body gesture that you could quite frequently see is resting their cheek on the hand. And note that what that means is that the person is thinking and evaluating your question before they answer. So when you see that, what you should do is just shut up. Just as I taught in the previous video about the tips about questioning. When you ask a question, do not say anything. Just wait for them. Do not interrupt their thinking process. Now, another very, very common gesture you will find is folded arms. And folded arms across the chest would mean that they are in disagreement with what you have just said, or they are resisting that question because it's a very uncomfortable question, and that question has made them very uncomfortable, put them in an uncomfortable place, and they are trying to figure out how they should answer this. And once again, when you see that, a couple of ways that you can handle this. One, give them as much time as you wish to answer. And the best body language trick that I have learned over the years, when someone crosses their arm and when you're waiting for the answer, is just to look at them patiently and quietly. And you can steeple your fingers like this if you wish to show that you are confident. In a way, it's kind of challenging their body language. So think about that. And a second way that you can overcome that instead of waiting is trying to get them to unfold their arms. And that could be done by passing them something so that they would have to unfold their arms to receive it. And research has shown that when the body gestures or body language gestures relax, the mind also relaxes. So body language impacts the mind just as well as the mind impacts the body language. So it works in both ways. So I hope you're getting some benefit from this video. And if you are, give it a thumbs up. Now, the next body language gesture that you may encounter is when you have put your coachee in a spot by asking them a very tough question and asking them to explain a situation which is very tough for them, their eyes will be downcast. That's a sign of being guilty. So wait for the answer and tackle the question or the answer appropriately. Now, in a similar light as eyes downcast is also rubbing the eyes. Now, when somebody rubs their eyes, it could be two things, either disbelief or doubt. So once again, if you have accused them of something and they do not believe it and it is not guilty, then they will rub their eyes. If it is guilt, the eyes will be downcast. So you got to learn how to interpret these two gestures differently. Now, the next body language gesture is rubbing the bridge of the nose, which indicates uncertainty or they reject what you are telling about them or the situation that you are describing. Now, the next body language is something that you may have encountered when you are conducting a class, and especially in the afternoon after people have had their lunch, is you would find them putting their head on their palms. And that is an indication of boredom and or despair as well. So obviously in a class, it's not going to be despair, it's going to be boredom. So when you do see them behave in that way, then break the monotony and change the scene by getting them to do some body activity, jumping up or moving around, which will break the monotony. But you are probably not going to get them doing this while you are having a discussion with them. So that's going to be pretty rare. Now, the next one is something that I love, and you have probably seen dogs do this as well, that when you say something interesting, they tilt the head. And that's an indication that they are interested in what you have just said, and they are listening attentively. So when you do see them do this body gesture, what you should do is you should stop and ask them, I noticed that you found what I just said interesting. What makes it interesting to you? And let them elaborate on what it is that they found interesting about the comment you made or the story that you had shared with them. And the next body language is sitting with their hands behind their head. And they could be resting like this with their legs outstretched. Now, I do not know how often an employee would do that with a boss. It will be seldom. Usually it's the bosses who would do this. And that's an indication of being relaxed, confidence, as well as thinking. So it could be any one of these three. So if you are coaching someone or in a discussion with your coachee and they do this, then rest assured that they are confident in the answer they are about to give you, or they could be thinking if they are silent, but most probably is going to be confidence. And you can rest assured also that the answer they're going to give you is a truthful answer because it's a relaxed gesture. Now, if they are lying, it will not be relaxed at all. They'll be stressed. And the 14th body language gesture is leaning forward. And when you are having a discussion or when you are in a coaching situation and you ask a question and they lean forward and they answer, it just means that they are displaying interest again. So when you ask a question and they lean forward, it is an interesting question, interesting topic that they want to talk about. Those are the 14 body language gestures I wanted to share with you. But there is one that I haven't shared with you yet, and that is eye contact. Now, when you are in a coaching situation with your employee, note that if they avoid eye contact with you when they are giving you an answer, it could probably indicate that they are not being truthful. But when they give you an answer and they look at you straight in the eye without blinking, it most probably means the truth. And of course, they could also train themselves to tell you a lie without blinking and looking straight into it, into their eye, into your eye. But that is someone who needs to be trained very well. And the chances are, most of us who do not work for the CIA or the KGB are not that well trained. So we are not able to control our subconscious or unconscious mind that controls our body language. Now, the next bonus body language gesture I wanted to reveal to you is when you ask a question and people rub their ear lobes while answering, it could indicate that they are not being truthful. So, what are the 3 rules that you need to know in order to make sure that you do not misinterpret these body language gestures, the 16 that I've shared with you? You got to read, first of all, body language gestures in clusters. So when you ask a question and they either, rub their nose, the bridge of their nose, and they don't look at you and they rub their ear, that's reading body gestures in clusters. So that's a cluster of 3 body language gestures. So if you do see all these 3 occurring one after the other in series, then you know that it is probably a lie. Next is to look for congruence. Now, if they are telling you a lie, you think it's a lie, but they have opened their palms. Now, it is pretty difficult for someone to lie with their palms open. So that would mean give them the benefit of the doubt. And maybe you want to rephrase that question and see how they answer that rephrased question, and to check and see if the same body language gestures are exhibited. Or is it a different set? And that give you a clue if they are lying or being truthful. Now, the third rule is to make sure that you read gestures in context. An easiest example I can give is that if you are in a cold room and you see your coachee folding his or her arms like this, and you can more or less be sure that if they are close their shoulders in like this as well, then it's an indication that they are cold and not that they are resisting the question that you ask or the scenario that you are painting. So those are the 3 most important ones. So those are the 3 fundamental rules that you need to understand in order to interpret body language. So in your coaching sessions, have you used body language interpretation correctly? And which one of these 16 that I've shared with you is the most challenging? Or do you have another one? Put it in the comment box below. Now check out the next video where we shall cover the benefits of coaching employees in the workplace.